so young, so new.
Event, 1984. My fiance gives me a Jack Chick tape. I listen to it, and when I'm finished, I'm in tears. It discusses how the Roman Catholic Church sponsored the Nazi Holocaust and World War I and World War II, and how they still strive for a world takeover. Event, 1985. I married my fiancé Stuart Pullman as a virgin because of religious conviction. Marriage is good the first year with minor problems. Event, 1986. Husband seems to change, to be a cold, uncaring lover. But he bugs me to get pregnant. I relent and become pregnant on the first try with horrible morning sickness. Event, 1987. My wonderful son is born, but I suffer sleep problems after childbirth.
The past years will show you've kept my love.
Event, 1988. Eventually, I go to a psychiatrist to solve sleep problems. He misdiagnoses me with manic depression, but the tranquilizer Dalmane helps me sleep temporarily, so I submit to the doctors. Event, 1989. Feel lost and lonely in my marriage. Begin to search to find my true self. After watching Star Trek The Next Generation episode Pen Pals, I become mesmerized with Brent Spiner, who seems the opposite to my cold, uncaring husband. For the first time in my life, I write a fan letter to a Hollywood star, feeling this is a safe way for me to work out my fantasy of having a caring and understanding husband. Knowing for sure the actor would never read my letters or take me seriously as a lover. But still a devout Christian, my letters with Brent remain purely friendship. And to ensure this, just in case the actor is reading my mail, I tell him about my diagnosis of manic depression. Event, 1990. My son accidentally ingests some of my lithium. The psychiatrist weans me off the psychiatric meds, and my sleep problems caused by a medical and not psychiatric problem are still not resolved. The state of Florida harasses me over this accident. A Star Trek The Next Generation episode called The Drumhead airs. I know Brent is rooting for me. I've developed spasmodic dysphonia from the psych meds, nerves going to the vocal cords vibrate, and now I've lost my gorgeous singing voice. Brent Spiner writes me a personal letter that he mailed from an Atlanta postmark. I'm floored. He says he enjoys and appreciates hearing my thoughts. I stay up all night to compose a cassette tape for him of me singing and playing on piano Christian hymns. I sing with fire and passion to honor him, a busy celebrity, for taking time to write me. A month after this, Brent begins his first music album, Old Yellow Eyes Is Back. Event, 1991. I've moved to Seattle from Florida. Brent Spiner calls me on the phone and says he wants to rape me. I think it's some weirdo from Paramount and hang up on him. My friend Melody Rondeau mails me Brent's music album just released, Old Yellow Eyes Is Back. I recognize the mystery rapist on my phone as Brent Spiner. I write him and tell him I figured out he was my mystery caller. He deluges my phone with rings and asks if he can come over. I reluctantly turn him down for sex and tell him we can only be passionate pen friends. I cry into my pillow every night that I have to turn him down, but I'm scared God will kill me. I'm married and still deeply rooted into my Christian mindset, not over all the Bible college and missionary training I received in my 20s. To make it up to Brent that I can't give him my body, I decide to become a writer, to make love to him with my writings. I enroll in the Institute of Children's Literature and still attend my Baptist church 3 times a week. Event, 1992. While I pour my passion for Brent into my writings and write my Star Trek teleplay Lol for him, Laurie McBride drugs and rapes Brent Spiner while he's in the middle of a fantasy about me. Devastated, Brent gives me 3 weeks of silence in September 1992. Brent gave me silence on my birthday in September 1992, and I drove down the freeway with tears streaming down my face. I've lost the love of my life and can't stop crying. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't function. He's gone. The man I'd die for, the man I never had a chance to tell that I wanted to marry more than anything in the world. When I finally find some resolution over his silence, after groveling through the depths of despair, those awful 3 weeks of silence, in September 1992, Brent resumes his calls to me, though I can tell things have changed. Event, 1993. I develop and grow as a writer, and all I write for Brent. I begin my novel, Silver Skies. Brent and I have developed a passionate, long-distance friendship. I love him and he loves me, but I'm married. In July 1993, my son needs hospitalization for asthma, and Brent again gives me about 2 weeks of silence. I begin to worry that I'm getting a repeat of September 1992. A social worker calls me in for counseling, fearing I'm neglecting my son during his hospitalization. I confide to him about Brent Spiner under strict confidentiality. Brent calls me on the phone and makes love to me. A day later, around midnight, I receive a phone call from a deep, raspy, and vicious voice, probably Laurie McBride, who screeches at me, "Hey, bitch, what the fuck are you doing to my boyfriend?" I laugh it off as some Paramount wacko, knowing Brent could never love a woman like that, and knowing that Brent, who made such awesome love to me on the phone, would never betray me with a woman like that. The social worker's report about my delusions about a Star Trek lover, Brent Spiner, somehow arrived to my husband in our health insurance paperwork. My husband is outraged and demands I turn over to him Brent's fan mail address and forces me to help him compose a letter to Brent Spiner. He forbids me to write Brent Spiner under threat of divorce. I now send my letters to Brent through Gates McFadden, Brent's co-star. Event 1994. My husband and I receive a letter from a woman Paramount Studios attorney charging us with harassment and ordering us not to send any more correspondence to Brent Spiner or Paramount Studios. The letter claims Brent never contacted me except to send me an autographed photo of himself. Outraged and disappointed in Brent, I go to God in prayer for 3 hours, begging his forgiveness for allowing Brent to seduce me into an adulterous relationship that Brent does not have the courage to honor. 12 hours later, the Northridge earthquake hits Hollywood, and the only Hollywood people who die work for Paramount Studios. I notice when I pick up my phone now that strange beeping noises and other noises are on my phone. I figure out that Brent has obtained a wiretap on my phone so that he can continue his communications with me. Our long-distance friendship continues. I never write Brent a letter anymore until 2011. It's all on the phone now. Event, June 1996. By God's providence, my husband is stationed at Brent's hometown, Houston, Texas. I'm busy working on my novel, Silver Skies, and as I do my daily routine and read the Houston Chronicle, I read in the paper from Brent's mother's society section that Brent has sponsored a lavish birthday party for his girlfriend, Laurie McBride. I scream at Brent on the phone for the first time in our relationship and demand an explanation. I cry for a month and demand that Brent explain to me why he's had Laurie McBride and me at the same time, and ask him why he needs her when I love him so much and have poured all my passion for him into my writings. But all I get on my wiretap phone are beeps and weird noises. Brent has stopped talking to me on the phone after 1994. My husband gets the internet in August 1996. I scour all the websites about Brent and Laurie and become disgusted with Brent. I begin to watch movies to comfort myself. I notice Franco Nero in Camelot and begin to dream about him as my lover to replace Brent. Brent contacts Franco Nero, and Franco is added onto my phone's wiretap. Franco advertises his email online, but I don't contact him. By September 1996, all my romantic feelings for Brent have died, and he only gets friendship from me now. Franco has replaced him as my long-distance lover. In December 1996, as Brent and Laurie travel to Europe to promote Star Trek First Contact, Laurie tries to seduce Franco at his London home. Franco exposes her to Brent. Brent is devastated, and in the Germany photos of Brent and Laurie together online, he stares at her like she's a viper. Despite this, I still retain Franco as my lover and don't understand why Brent keeps Laurie as his girlfriend, even after she tried to seduce Franco Nero. I conclude Brent has a mental illness that makes it impossible for him to have a healthy relationship with a woman, and though I can tell my rejection of him as a lover has devastated him, I don't feel he deserves my romantic feelings. Franco still reigns in my fantasies. My real husband is often out to sea, and I tell him nothing about all this. Event 1998. I have become half fluent in Italian for Franco, and have learned authentic Italian cuisine. My son and I developed strange illnesses in South Carolina. Laurie McBride and the Jesuits try to burn down my mobile home. My son gets blamed for it, though he was the one who helped me put out the fires. My husband doesn't believe me when I tell him that my son did not do those fires. I admit to my husband that it was probably Brent Spiner's girlfriend, Laurie McBride, to save my son, and now I'm written off as crazy. I feel a mountain of pressure and wonder how Laurie is able to get the police and everyone to cooperate with her, because it seems she owns the police, my church, my pastor, my husband, and all around me. But despite her monumental pressure against me to betray Brent's wiretap of my phone, I keep my mouth shut and tell no one about Brent's wiretap of my phone. Event 1999. I've moved to Seattle and weaned myself off all psychiatric meds, convinced that I'm not a manic depressive. A Jesuit naturopath tricks me into doing spinal extremity correction, where she yanks back my neck and tries to induce in me psychosis, as Jesuits attempt to get me back on psychiatric meds. After losing a lot of money and sleep from the neck damage and a lot of hassle, I finally find a good chiropractor who fixes the damage the Jesuits did to my neck. I get a really good deal from this chiropractor and suspect that Brent Spiner is helping to pay for it, feeling terrible over what Laurie is doing to me. Though Franco still reigns in my heart, I'm under so much pressure from the Jesuits, and they attack my health and finances so fiercely, I sense that my life is in grave danger. Romance takes a back seat as I struggle for survival and strive to protect my friends who have wiretapped my phone and who I know are not responsible for these attempts on my life. December 1999, doctors call me in for counseling. You have calcium deposits in your breasts. We want to put you into emergency biopsy to determine if you have breast cancer. It will require general anesthesia. Already a victim of poisonings and all sorts of criminal medical procedures by this Laurie McBride and her friends, I refuse to do it. I tell the doctors I'll risk breast cancer. I'm more scared of what the doctors would do to me in general anesthesia than of breast cancer, and that I won't risk the biopsy unless it can be done outside of general anesthesia, because I want to be awake during the procedure. During this month, this is December 1999, I hear a still small voice say to me at 2 a.m., "Your enemy is the Roman Catholic Church." I recognize that voice as God's and realize that Laurie McBride is a Vatican agent who's been used to destroy Brent's love for me. Now that I realize who she is, I cry to Brent for hours on my wiretap phone and beg his forgiveness for replacing him with Franco Nero. I offer Brent my hand in marriage and tell him I plan to divorce my husband to be with him. All hell breaks loose. It seems all I buy from the stores is contaminated. I recall from what I learned from Jack Chick in 1984 that the Vatican is the richest organization on earth. Okay, we're going to be moving on to a second video very shortly because I can't put this all on one. Event 2000. As I deal with illness after illness from contaminated prescription meds, supplements, foods, and as my body suffers under allergy with headaches, dizziness, and nausea from my allergens loaded into the Seattle air, I find a group of physicians who will perform a breast biopsy on me without general anesthesia. Okay, we're going to move on to a second video. I got a little bit more time. Both biopsies come back negative, though in one because I ingested a contaminated supplement that caused my blood to thin. I suffered excessive bleeding from the second biopsy and had to stay in bed for 3 weeks with severe anemia. I got over it by taking liquid liver extracts and iron. I go forward with a divorce from my husband, who plays all sorts of dirty tricks on me during the divorce process and forces me and my son to see a psychologist who manages to wean from me information about my obsession with Brent Spiner, which causes me to get written off as crazy. A new movie airs on TV called Esther. I know Brent was behind this, and I adore him and am determined to marry him. We're going to go on to a second tape.